Hey everybody, Dan here, and for this module I just want to introduce a couple of concepts, socialism and capitalism. And the reason it's important is because as you read on about the debates over the ACA or universal health care, you're going to hear this term socialism a lot, or socialized medicine. And it's really complicated to work your way through the actual meaning of the word. There's sort of a social meaning, and then there's a technical meaning as well. So when we look at socialism and capitalism, those are really economic systems more than they are social policy systems to some extent. So the classic example of socialism, coming from Karl Marx, who was, one of the founders of this economic theory or social theory, if you will, the definition was a way of social organization which advocates that the state, so that's kind of like the government, that the state advocates and owns all of the production, distribution, exchange, and all the means of production. So the classic definition of socialism is total state control over all the means of production and over the economy. Now, that's extrapolated into social policy, which dictates that under socialism, everything is taken care of for the citizens. We all share in common. So you've heard the word communism before. Socialism is like a degree of communism, and the root word of communism is community. And so the idea is under communism, theoretically, and under socialism, everything is shared in common. So that's what people are talking about when they say the ACA or universal health care is socialized medicine, because it's this idea that the community is paying for everyone's health care. So that's what socialism means, and that's sort of the origins of the word. That having been said, capitalism, again, is often cited as the opposite of socialism, and as an economic theory, it's not necessarily the opposite, but it's totally different, in that capitalism revolves around the concept of laissez-faire, which is a French word and really means free markets. So that means no government regulation in business. If you're a farmer and you pay for your seed and you plant your seed and you harvest, you sell that anywhere you want, any price you want, and the government doesn't interfere. So capitalism is free market capitalism. You invent it, you sell it, you get paid for it, and there's no government intervention whatsoever. So that's the economic theory that our country runs on, but it's not that pure and simple. Certainly there is government regulation into some things that, perhaps cause pollution is one example. So there's government regulations in some cases. So there's no pure capitalism, but really this idea of services provided for the citizens, even in a capitalist system like ours, your kids have to go to school. You don't have any choice there. So that's really a socialist program. You are forced to pay for school through property taxes or state taxes, depending upon where you live. So, Social Security certainly is a form of socialism by most interpretations. Medicare, Medicaid, same thing. So even though capitalism is seen as the opposite of socialism, when it comes to our economy and our social policy, there's no pure 100% capitalism. So hopefully that clarifies it for you, and there's some classic definitions in the reading notes. You will need to know that for our little mini quiz. The other thing I just want to mention, though, that's really important, is the word socialism is highly controversial in the United States. It's like taken on a life of its own. And the reason for that is, even though we operate under sort of a socialist capitalist system, the reason for that is that, it goes all the way back to the mid-1800s, but moving forward a little bit, after the Russian Revolution in the early 1900s, when Lenin took over from the Tsar, Lenin installed this communist system into Russia. And other than the fact we were allies in World War II, after World War II, when the Cold War was underway, this idea of communism and socialism spread throughout much of Europe in some extent, and also into China. So socialism, people in the United States don't object don't object to it so much because of the social policy aspect of it. They object to it because it's like a dirty word. It's like unpatriotic, if you will, and it's a remnant from the Cold War and the close association of socialism with communism. Communism is like a more pure form of socialism, much more strict. So I just wanted to get that out there. I think the best way to remember these two words and what they mean is that capitalism kind of relates to individualism. You do your own thing, you take care of yourself, you run your own business, you take care of your own health care, you do all that. So that's individualism. So I would associate capitalism with individualism, and I would associate socialism with this idea of sharing in common. So that's a good association for those two words. So that's what I have today. Enjoy your time off and your next week, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.